Alrighty. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. We'll let people hop in and we won't really do too much until 5 minutes past or so. But I'd like to get started just since we don't have very much time. Can you guys hear me okay?
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Great, great. Cool, it's exciting to get to hear from you guys. You guys have made some cool stuff. I'm happy to have you here. The reason I wanted to start these calls is actually just because I think that we have a lot of really cool things going on in the Arweave community, and I wanted to give us a place where we could get together and kind of get to know each other, because I think, you know, if we can have good relationships with one another, that's going to make our time outside of these calls super meaningful and allow us to do even more than we could do without a little bit of meeting time like we have here. So during this call, I just would like to go over kind of, you know, the purpose of these calls, figure out what you guys want to do, and then kind of get to know everybody as well. So I'll go ahead and start by introducing myself. And I guess before I even do that, I just guess, oh, you should be able to type in Zoom, Zeus. There should be like a chat thing here. Let me see. Can you type here? Okay, cool. All right, good. I'm not here to try and run this whole show. I want this thing to be a decentralized thing. I'm happy to help out here in the beginning, but ideally, this is something that we do as a community, and it's not necessarily always going to be me here organizing it. Instead, it should be something that everybody feels free to organize and participate in. I'm just trying to help get it off the ground. So if there's anything that you want to participate in or anything you want to do, feel free to chime in. It's a discussion. We're all here to build something together. So if you haven't already, we've got an agenda here. It should be open for anybody to type anything. So feel free to write questions in the questions section. If you're familiar with Markdown, it shouldn't be too complicated, hopefully. HackMD has a few views here. You can just do an edit view or a split view, or you can just view the agenda itself. So feel free to type in here any questions that you might have as they come up, or an introduction to yourself, or whatever it is that you want to do. The goal of this call is to basically figure out, you know, what it is that we want to get from these calls, and then figure out what we want to do next as a community and for these calls. I've talked with Sam from Arweave. He's going to be hopping on soon. He's just running a little bit behind, but I'd like to go ahead and get started with introductions, if that's okay with everyone. So I guess I'll start by introducing myself. My name's Justin. I'm from Seattle, Washington, in the US, so Pacific time. I've been doing full stack web development for 14 years now, so since like 2005. Seen a lot of change in the web space, and it's been really exciting. And now with the move towards decentralized web and decentralized services, I'm super excited for what lies in the future, because I think that it's the beginning of an even more efficient and capable web. So super exciting to see the development of things like Arweave, and I think that it's great that they're creating kind of the data layer for the next evolution of our tools. Yeah, I'm excited to see and work with you guys to see all the stuff that you guys make. You guys have already made some really cool things. So I'm, like I said before, I'm excited to get to know you guys a little bit better, because, man, the stuff that you've made is awesome. And I can't wait to make more cool stuff with you guys. So that's it for me. If you guys are comfortable, feel free to introduce yourselves a little bit. Oh, looks like Sam just hopped on. So if he gets in, he can introduce himself next, or even Benji or Zeus, you can introduce yourselves, whoever feels like going. There's a little way to say yes or no inside of the little panel here. So I guess you can indicate if you'd like to speak or something there as well, or you can just start talking. It's not like we're gonna have to worry about talking over each other too much, since there's only 4 of us. So with that, I'll hand over the time to somebody else.
Hi, how's it going? This is Benji here. I'm joining the call from Ireland. I'm a web dev. I've been doing it for about 4 years. I'm focused primarily on the front end, and it was actually quite lucky timing coming across the Arweave project on Gitcoin, because I'm looking for a way to learn new technology. So focusing on React at the moment, and just like trying to beef up the portfolio and cover up holes in my understanding of front end web development. And it's kind of it's turned into a bit of a can of worms with Arweave, because I figured out I really like the project. Love building things for it. The idea that it's possible to upload data and for it to be immutable and permanent. I don't think it's really kind of sunk in just the scope of what's possible for me personally, but I'm enjoying kind of like uncovering it and having little realizations here and there as I learn more about the platform. So yeah, I'm happy to be along for the ride. And it's nice to meet so many enthusiastic and nice people. The community on Arweave very, very, very helpful, and quite free of a lot of the BS, which is kind of endemic in other crypto communities. So yeah, just happy to be here and happy to see where this leads, and looking forward to collaborating on creating components and an ecosystem with all the rest of you.
Awesome. Thanks, Benji. Dude, I'm happy to hear that you're doing React. I think that there's definitely a future of basically having components stored in the Arweave and being able to just pull components straight from the Arweave. It'd be really cool. Anyway,
I was thinking that myself, actually, because I'm working on this profile plugin. I was thinking how cool it would be if you were just able to like call the create profile plugin and display it as a frame or as like a div in your app, and just have that thing living in multiple applications.
Yeah, super cool stuff. There's so many possibilities there. It's going to be great.
Code immutability in general makes a lot of sense on the Arweave. So library storage, this kind of stuff, yeah, all of it works really well.
It's going to be awesome. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Sam?
Hey, I'm Sam. It's good to speak to you guys on the phone. So Justin and I have met in person, but I haven't met you before, Benji, other than in text. Yeah, so nice to meet.
Hello, Sam.
Zeus.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, Zeus.
Good, how are you?
Good. Okay, so my name is Cedric, my real name, and I'm from Canada, from Montreal, so I speak more French than English, but I can speak English also. And yeah, I'm a full stack web dev also, and I have 16 years of experience.
Did you say 16?
Yeah.
Whew, you've been around for a while.
Well, I started when I was 14, and now I'm 30. I just got 30.
Congratulations.
Oh, fun. So you've seen a lot of change too.
Yeah, a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Arweave and all the possibilities it can bring to the web.
What's your stack? What kind of stuff have you been using mostly, or I guess lately? I mean, 16 years, you probably had a little bit of experience with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, at first I was only doing CSS, HTML, and I was working on apps on MSN at that time. And since then, I went to PHP. I had to do Java at school when I entered college. I did mostly Java and Flash. And then now I'm doing mostly JavaScript, Node.js, Express, everything related to Node and JavaScript.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that it's been fun to watch JavaScript kind of become this mainstream language, because everybody's developing for the web, to the point where they've taken it from development for just the web to development for servers and desktop applications. And now you can create anything with web technologies. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I even remember when I was at school, my Java teacher always laughed at JavaScript. He was saying it's shit, it doesn't work for anything. Some devs don't like other technologies and they talk bad about them. But now it's pretty much JavaScript everywhere.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's improved over the years. The new standards are way better than they were before, and unfortunately, it seems like it's just getting better. With so much attention on JavaScript, it seems like everybody's got opinions, and it seems like it's moving in the right direction. Definitely better than it was a few years back, which is great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's good to get to know everybody. I'll make some notes in here after our call to kind of make sure I get the list of people that attended here. If you want to, you can type in there as well. If not, I'll put it in there for you. I'll try and document what you said, just so that there's kind of a record of who people are, who was there, what they do. So the next thing I'd kind of like to go over is just the purpose for these calls. And when I was talking a little bit about these with Sam, I mentioned that at least the purpose for this call was to figure out kind of the need for these community calls and what we wanted them to be. And I wanted it to be an open discussion. So feel free to chime in here because, it should be a discussion. I guess I'll just kind of propose my idea and then feel free to throw out other ideas that you guys have. I was thinking that these community calls would mostly be short, like 30 minutes, longer if we really need them to, but ideally about that short. And the calls would be focused on getting to know each other, getting to know projects inside the community, and then allowing there to be time afterwards where people can break off into focus groups, kind of focus on specific projects or things that people are interested in. I think that the Arweave project can be really diverse, and so trying to force everybody to sit around for an hour to talk about one specific thing probably isn't the best use of most people's time. It's one thing when there's only 4 of us, we can probably talk about whatever we want because we're all going to be super interested in it, but it'll be something different in the future when there's more people and more things to talk about. So that was kind of what I was thinking that these calls could be. Do you guys have any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I think like a faster paced communication mechanism, like once a week, like we do on Discord, but just sort of a higher throughput, higher bandwidth, I guess, makes a lot of sense. I mean, I wouldn't say that we should get too structured about it too early on. And also maybe while we're still growing, it's probably not necessary to have like smaller focus groups. Yeah. But as I see it, we should just play it by ear and see what works for everyone.
Great. I agree. Cool. All right. What about you, Benji and Zeus? Any opinions? Or are you guys happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy to just show up and see where it goes without trying to put too much shape on it.
Perfect.
Because when it's just a small group of people, I think we all have a fairly good idea of what's been said in the discourse in the Discord over the course of the week. So there's only a few burning questions, and everyone's probably more or less interested in everything that's going to be said. But yeah, definitely as it gets bigger, makes sense to split off into smaller focus groups and keep them short and sweet because time is of the essence. Especially for me, I've got a 2-year-old son, so I generally have my hands full.
Same situation, actually. She's 19 months now, so I totally get what you mean. Time is of the essence.
Hands on.
Okay, cool. Well, then let's just go ahead and jump into discussion then, because I don't think that there's much more that we need to do here. Is there anything specific that you guys would like to start chatting about? I know that there's a lot of cool projects that everybody's been working on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think like maybe one of the things we can do each week is kind of like a roundup of all the interesting things people have been building and kind of talk about the way we can integrate them. Because one of the things that the Arweave lets you do that's really neat is you can share data between domains in a way that you really couldn't do on the centralized web. So we saw this already with like Arweave ID, right? Yeah, maybe there's kind of time for discussion about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was something I was hoping we could talk about is actually data standards and finding a place to basically begin to register those standards.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that there's basically layers of those standards too. But yeah, that's something that we should discuss.
Yeah, I think like we basically need a sort of analogous system to RFCs, except for data standards. So if you have a blogging platform and you want it to work, with all the other different kind of blogging systems on the network, you just abide by this one standard, and then all your data from your application, turns up in everyone else's. And it's pretty simple. It'll be really exciting and cool when we get it working. But like, I guess from my perspective, because everything in the network is immutable, the sort of non-standardized stuff that we're doing now is means that data can't be regrouped later. Like we can't re-tag stuff. You only get one opportunity to tag. So
I mean, I guess you could technically redeploy transactions. You could just redo the transaction with different tags, right? But
but then you lose like the ledger like components. So you don't get who updated, or rather who submitted the data, and also
right.
Verifiable timestamp that it happened at a certain time. But yeah, you're right. And you could
we could essentially come up with a sort of proxy transaction too, saying, hey, these are additional tags for this prior transaction or something like that. I guess
exactly.
We just need to figure out a way to make it so that we can add more tags in the future as we develop our data standards, because having to have all of the answers from the beginning probably isn't the best, because we're not going to have all the answers right now, especially if the scale is into an infinity or whatever, right?
Yeah, so one of the approaches we spoke about on Discord to this is like, I think this was you, Benji, the idea that maybe we could have adapter generators. So, okay, you've got like an old piece of data, but if we generate the standards in a computer readable way, then maybe we could generate, bits of JavaScript that will just take data in old standard 1 and turn it into new standard 2. That's definitely a way we could go about it.
Cool. So where should we start to organize that discussion, Sam?
It might be reasonable if we make like a standards discussion group on the Discord, so just like another channel for it.
Okay. Yeah, so let's do that. I think that there's a lot to cover there. We could probably just start typing out ideas inside of like a document or something, and then maybe start an official GitHub repo or something like that starts to outline individual standards, kind of like RFCs, like you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if we had like an RFC editor. Somewhere you could go, you just edit the TXT document or Markdown or whatever it is, and then you just press a button and bang, you've got like a record. And you can say, okay, well, all of my data transactions abide by this other standard, and you just refer to it by the TX ID. And then you can take that TX ID that, is your blog post or it's associated in the tags with your blog post or what have you, and then you can see how the data is encoded. That seems like a reasonable place to start, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you can basically start to bind your transaction to certain schemas, kind of.
Yeah, schema is exactly the word.
Cool. I think something to look at is actually Textile. They have something similar to that, where you can develop basically schemas for these things they call threads. And then when you're about to post to a thread, it verifies with that schema that it can, put that data there. I wonder if we could figure out something kind of similar to that.
I actually spoke to the Textile people just last week. Maybe there's some kind of integration possible there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Do you mean like validated by the node that the data is going to?
Could we do that, Sam?
We can't do like network side validation. I mean, from the network's point of view, data is just data.
Yeah. That's actually something that Sam and I have been talking about a little bit, because that is definitely a challenge. But I would assume, like Sam's been saying, that the client could basically do that validation. If the data coming in doesn't match the schema, then it could just ignore it, basically.
Yeah,
exactly.
It kind of needs to be validated at 2 points, like when you're when you're sending it, creating a transaction, and then when your client parses it and is bringing it down.
Yeah, I think like when RQL2 is done, I wonder whether we could embed basically validation into our queries so that the queries will only ever return valid, blogs or tweets or whatever it happens to be.
That would be amazing.
So
yeah.
what kind of improvements are coming with the next version of RQL, and when can we expect that?
Kyle would be the person to ask about when to expect it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of changes on the gateways that are all getting bunched together. And I think Ivan has written the parser for the new RQL. Yeah, but we're talking, I guess, weeks to months, like, low number of.
Is there any kind of outline for what they're doing there, or anything?
Yeah, so the language spec is still, oscillating a bit at the moment, but it's much closer to like traditional SQL. The idea is to make it pretty friendly for people coming from that world.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we should be able to do stuff like potentially wildcard matching on the end of addresses, that kind of thing. So this would allow you to do the short hash thing that we were talking about, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as that, better time limiting. So you can say, give me everything between either this time or this block, and so on, that kind of thing. Potentially even joins. But the question is, like, we really don't want to make the language so expressive that you could use it to generate too much computation on the node's computer. Like, it's got to be lightweight enough that it can be fairly easily computed.
Right. Well, something else that's going to become an issue is once there's so much data in the Arweave, it's going to be slow. I would assume, right? I guess if you're only querying by tags, then it starts to not be so much an issue since you're not actually querying by the data, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the one thing that this won't ever let you do is query by data. So yeah, the nodes that run RQL should basically just be indexes. And they'll kind of tell you where you can find the data, but they won't tell you what the data is.
Interesting. Yeah, that's going to be something that's going to have to be solved, because obviously right now people can query by data. So there's going to have to be some layer 2 solution that allows you to do that.
So you can't query by data at the moment, but actually, like, we talked about this.
Fetch all of the data for a specific thing and then query on top of that, right? But it wouldn't.
Right. But I wouldn't say, okay. So you're querying locally in that regard.
That's right. So basically, there would be another layer on top of the Arweave that would offer that service.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, we talked about this for a long time, but the answer is just Google, or at least Google until someone builds an Roogle. So if you go like site:/arweave.net and then whatever data you like, it does full text search across the whole data set.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of not that big a problem. Although you obviously shouldn't, it forces this kind of weird differentiation between what's data, which shouldn't be queryable, and what are tags. So what if your data, for example, was something like a JSON object? Maybe all of those JSON elements should be tags. It has some kind of weird semantics to it that maybe we need to iron out over time.
Okay. All right. Let's keep moving here. Can we create a channel for this discussion then, Sam? Can you work with your team to get that added to the Discord?
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Awesome. I know that you guys both have your own projects as well. Do you guys have a minute to talk about those?
Yeah, sure.
So which ones are you working on, Benji? I'm trying to remember.
So it's like a profile system, and it's kind of modeled on Twitter's profile. So I'm thinking you can have like a thumbnail image, a pseudonym, a title, your location, and then some about info, and all of that is going to be put in the transactions tags. Now, I believe the maximum size for a tag is 4 kilobytes. Is that right?
Oh wow!
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm planning on sticking like a tiny image in there, just really, really lightweight. allowing different versions, so you can update your profile, and then be able to see a list of all the created profiles. That's just what I'm looking at the moment for it. Obviously, there's like so many ways that it can be extended.
Right, and so it's a use case like that to produce something that can then be pulled into other apps.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
So
Arweave ID has been so far.
yeah. So be able to use it in like Scribe, for instance. Anything that just wants a really, really like high level, like possibly anonymous, description that a person wants to give about themselves.
Awesome.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So it's like it is your profile for the Arweave network, and that's what you see whenever you log in on any of the Arweave sites. Kind of, people could integrate it to be that thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if the creator of the site, wants that, then
right,
that's what it's there for.
Cool.
I mean, so this begs an interesting question. Like the way that Arweave ID works, if I recall correctly, is that it sends a transaction with every different, so it sends a new transaction for every different statement about identification. So for example, if you were to update your Discord ID, that would be one transaction, which would be separate from if you were to update your email or whatever it happens to be. I wonder if there's something that we can like come to a consensus on regarding whether we should be batching these or keeping them separate. I
mean, I think it comes down to size. Like, I think batching it is probably better because you can get a lot more information at once. Like I know that when you use like OAuth stuff, you don't necessarily just get one field at a time. You're going to get a whole bunch of stuff about that person that you can then use. And it kind of gives you a key that you can then use to get other stuff if you need to.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
To be something like that.
That's something I was wondering also because, for example, for me on Arweave apps, I only want to have the name of the person, so I don't want to load all the data, for example, for an image, an avatar, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But in other cases, yeah, it's interesting to have all the information at once, so you do only one request, But,
yeah, the tags, or rather the transactions actually have what we call subfield addressing. So you can say, okay, give me this transaction, give me its tags, for example, on its own. And I think you might even be able to say, get stroke tx stroke txid stroke tags stroke and then a key, and then it'll get you the data associated with that tag.
Really?
I'll have to check, but there's definitely like functionality that's at least very similar to that. And cool. if we don't have that, we can pretty easily add it if it would be helpful to people.
So Benji, do you have a GitHub repo up for that yet?
For the profile, I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking at that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that one. It's going to be good.
Yeah, should be this week, hopefully.
Awesome. And then Zeus, I know you're working on a lot of stuff now too. Sorry, go ahead, Sam. I didn't mean to.
No, I was just saying we now have unlimited minutes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Love it.
Well, I want to do an update on Arweave apps because I find it a little bit slow to load the content sometimes, and I don't like that. So I'm thinking of using web workers to load faster the content. But yeah, there's some limitations because of the Arweave JS, but I'm looking at that. And I'm also doing many updates on the browser I'm building. I'm planning to have, now I have Arweave apps directly on the browser, on the homepage. But as I talk with Sam, we want to have, for example, the blockchain to be downloaded directly in there. Mm-hmm. So for example, when someone visits a page, it doesn't have to go to arweave.net/ the link. It will be locally.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It will become a node.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, what that means eventually is that the nodes in the network might not even not be that necessary. So you could end up with this sort of peer-to-peer browser web, which would be, crazy interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It will be some sort of peer-to-peer browser. And there's a bunch of things I'm planning to do on it. For example, have for now I was thinking of having some sort of button or something like that the person have to drag to a page to log in. So instead of going to the folders and searching for your JSON file, you just load it once on your browser, and then from the browser you move it around to the page. I'm still not sure about that, but yeah.
This definitely interacts with what Kyle is working on. So Kyle is our head of product. I think you probably have seen him around Discord a few times. Yeah, he's working on this system we're kind of jokingly calling RPAL for now, which basically lets you remove the need to trust the application, and then just have like sensible predefined interface for calling out to whatever the RPAL client is in the browser you're talking to. So if you have the web extension installed inside Chrome, for example, this will make the little pop-up appear in the right-hand corner, kind of like MetaMask, and then you'll be able to sign a transaction or log in, or whichever way you want to do it. And it seems like it would make a lot of sense if we integrated this into the browser as well.
Yeah, for sure. I saw that on Discord, and that's why I left that like one of the last things
Yeah.
I want to do, because I said if he come out with that, it's even better than what I want to do, Yeah.
Yeah, I think like if we just make that interface kind of sensible and easy enough to integrate with, then application developers would find that not so taxing. Much nicer than this whole like dragging and dropping key files around.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and I was also planning to have Arweave mail directly on the browser also.
Oh, awesome. That'd be amazing.
So you log in once and you have your email, you have the pages and everything, directly there.
That's really cool. We've been wondering about a kind of like, sorry, Benji, go on.
I was just saying that sounds great.
Yeah. We've been thinking about maybe like notification systems. So there's a lot of stuff in the ecosystem now where people are sending transactions to other addresses. So like, for example, if you upvote something on, I was going to say Queerweave, but it's not Queerweave anymore, it's Askweave. If you upvote something on Askweave, like you're sending a transaction to someone's address, it would be really nice if we had systems to easily pick up, hey, what's the notifications like on my address since I last logged in? And then you would get, you've received 1 Weave mail, 2 upvotes, and so on.
Okay, yeah.
I wonder if we
even
could
built something
figure out how
like
to do a push service to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. Like one of the problems we have is that everything is kind of inside the ecosystem. So it's really easy for applications in the ecosystem to talk to each other, but it's super hard for those applications to talk to things outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be really nice if Viewblock have been talking about this like mobile wallet for a while. I wonder if we can convince them to integrate something like this, so that you can have it in your have it on your phone in your pocket, and then you just get a buzz whenever someone sends you something, and then it maybe extracts the app name tag and then says, hey, you just received something on this application. And you can load up the application, you can see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, Sam, the app / name, is it a standard or it's something just...
I mean, that was like the earliest non-standard we had, if you like. I mean,
okay.
It was like the first things that interacted with the system needed some way of identifying themselves. And we kind of thought that, like, the way HTTP headers look, so with the weird Campbell case with the dashes, it seemed like kind of the transaction tags almost serve the same sort of function as those HTTP headers. So that's how we ended up with this. But this is exactly why, we need to work on standardization kind of now.
Yeah, because I saw the other apps had that, but I was wondering if it were something you can put whatever you want, So, okay, good.
Yeah, right now you can put anything you want.
Yeah, but it's better if we have a standard,
Yeah.
It's easier to implement with other things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we want at some point like a simple tag for, hey, this is app name X, and then also, hey, this abides by standard Y, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I think we're out of time here. Let's continue the conversation on Discord. Is there anything you guys want to cover before we wrap up the call for today?
That sounds good. So next Monday, are we good for, does what, Eastern Standard Time evening work? I'm not sure where our geographic distribution landed, Justin.
Yeah, so that works for me. Does that work for you, Benji, in Ireland? You're like what, 3 hours ahead of Eastern?
I think it's like 5 or something, no?
Oh, is it? Yeah, I think you're right. It is 5 because it's GMT, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm GMT. So are you saying 3 or 4 hours later than we started today?
Something like that, unless we did it earlier. But also I'm wondering who else we missed because we were in European time zone today.
We can do a poll in Discord or something like that to figure out the best time. Are you on Eastern next week, Sam?
I will be, but I don't mind working with either.
Okay. And then Zeus, you're basically Eastern time as well, right? Since you're in Canada, Montreal?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll figure out something that works, at least works for the 4 of us. What's the latest that works for you, Benji?
I'm a bit of a night owl, and my evenings are quiet, so I'm happy to just slot in with whatever is best.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. Let's plan on next Monday doing it at like afternoon or evening Eastern time then. Is that okay?
Yeah, exactly. Early evening seems sensible, like 5 or 6 Eastern time. Something.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, sounds good, guys.
All right, thanks. Great to speak.
Thanks a lot. Nice meeting you all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.